If you're an independent musician and you're wondering where the money has moved, because I'm sure you've noticed it's not in the music anymore. Very rarely do people buy physical media like they used to, and streaming is not paying the bills for a vast majority of artists. So where's the money moved? Where's it gone? This video is going to help answer that question, and it's either going to make you really happy because you're going to have an answer to that question and know the next best steps to take forward, or you're going to be kind of upset because you're going to see some of the work involved in this, and I know a lot of musicians are going to feel a little uncomfortable with it at first, and they're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But hopefully this video will share with you exactly why it's worth taking action on. So it's typically the unsexy things that lead to the most sexy results. This is one thing that when I put this in my thumbnails or in my titles for my YouTube videos, they're always my worst performing videos. But when I talk about the results that this one thing provides, I'm getting blown up in my DMs, comments blow up, and people are asking, how are you able to make $2,500, $7,500, $1,500 as a musician in just a few weeks, a couple months? So what is the one thing? I've built it up enough. In this video, I'm going to share with you how to maximize the most overlooked profit center in your music business, which is your email list. Now I know some people are like, Dax, I've heard about email lists, but I either don't have one, I have a few people on it, or I have people on it, but I don't know what to send them, and I'm trying to send them stuff and nothing's working. Well, if you're in any of those three camps, this video is going to help you out because you're going to figure out how artists are making decent money, like pretty livable money, through their email list. And so the first thing that we need to jump into to go really dive deep now on this is we have to look at building a list. You don't have a list, or if you have a small list, we've got to look at how you build it. So that's the first step in anything. So the easiest place, if you're a gigging musician, is at your gigs. That's when you've built the most rapport and most connection with the fans in the most potent experience possible. So you've given them this amazing show. At the merch table, when they come up to you, you're probably going to get a version of this sentence, which is, oh my goodness, y'all were amazing. Do you guys have any plans to come on back to this area anytime soon? And when you get that golden opportunity question there, you say, whether the answer is yes, we've got something on the books, or no, we don't have anything on the books, it doesn't matter, because the next thing you say is, whether it's yes or no, if you sign up for our email list for free, we'll make sure that you don't miss on the next show that's in your area. I've literally spoken to tens of thousands of people face to face running my merch table, and I've literally had no one say no to that. No one. It has a 100% success rate because they would have to have cognitive dissonance to say no to that question. If they came up to you and said, you did great, do you have any plans to come back? The implicit assumption there is they want to see you when you come back. So when you say, oh, here's how you fulfill on that assumption, you fill out the form, either written or a QR code, to join my email list. And from there, I'll make sure you don't miss out the next time we're in your area. We'll shoot you an email. And if they're like, well, I don't use my email, you'd be better off texting me. Well, now you can build up your text SMS list. So no matter what they say, you're going to be able to get their contact information to add to your email list or your SMS list, which, by the way, if you have their phone number, you can't quite treat it the same as you treat an email. I can email somebody every day and them stay subscribed and not be mad at me if I deliver enough value and I'm entertaining enough. But if I do that every day in text, majority of people will be annoyed by that and block my number and unsubscribe and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of use one to get them into the email list so that you can message them more frequently. Now, some people are like, well, nobody wants to open these things. Nobody wants to blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that. I'm going to share with you strategies on how to actually get people to open it so that you can get results like my average client gets 35 to 45% open rates on the low side. Some people are struggling to get 10% open rates. And so I'll share with you those strategies here in just a moment, but we have to know about how to build that list more. So what if you're not gigging? What if you're not playing shows? Well, here's what you can do. First of all, the content itself that you create can be a call to action to the email list. Let's say, you followed some of the other videos that I've made about how to properly write the headlines for your short form videos, and you're creating content that is drawing people into the music. You can just continue to do that, but at the very end, instead of the call to action being drop a comment, follow, go listen on Spotify, the call to action just shifts. It says, join my email list. Now you can do it like that, that's only going to get the warm or really hot fans. And when I say that, I'm talking about marketing, right? Like they're really into you, or they're like super mega ultra diehard fans. Getting them in is going to be the easy part, because you don't have to make like a huge promotional persuasive thing. You just have to say, hey, I have an email list. If you want to get updates on shows in your area and new releases, join my email list. And the super fans they'll go join. But the content that you create hopefully is geared at attracting new people, a cold audience that doesn't quite know of you yet, but is now discovering you. And once you get them in that way, you're creating enough content that's pulling in the cold audience, then you make a shift. You say, instead of drop a comment, follow, you say join my email list. Now you could do it in a way where there's some incentive. So the video could be about a song that isn't out yet, but you want to give them a free MP3 download of the master because it's still got a month before it's out, and you want to incentivize them into your email list. Get them in there. Like, you're going to be paid micro pennies by waiting and driving them to Spotify. You might as well just go ahead and get them into a more valuable vehicle of support, which is an email list, than just by default sending them to Spotify, right? So that's an easy way to do it. There's a few different content formats where you may have to kind of change it around, whether you're talking to the camera, whether these are just images in a slideshow. All that stuff will kind of change, but the principle is the same, right? Have a call to action to the email. And if there's a thing that you're going to give away for free, make a video about the free thing, about how cool it is, and then be like, do you want this thing that I talked about that's so cool for free? Join my email list. Just DM me or send me the word whatever. And DMs is something that a lot of musicians, because some of us are introverted, I know, we get all like, I don't know if I want to DM my fans. I don't want to come off as spammy. I don't want to come off as pushy or needy or any of that kind of stuff. Well, one of the best ways to grow your email list quickly, without any money involved, without paying for ads or anything like that, is to in fact DM people. Because you'll have people engage with your content, but one of the easiest ways to get those people into your email list without having to make a post about the email list and hope people join through the post and then nothing else, it doesn't matter what post they like or they comment on, there's now an excuse for you to message them and say, thanks for liking the video or thanks for the follow. It really helps out the channel. Have you heard of me before? Is this your first time hearing about me? And asking questions is going to be how you take control of that conversation in a pushy way. You just ask questions that logically lead them down the road where eventually they're going to want to join your email list. Now, I've got some proprietary things that I teach my students, but I'll give you a little bit here, which is you ask the questions that get them to see how the current genre they listen to is missing something, and that something it's missing is what you do that's unique, right? So every person out there makes music, and there's a unique twist on what they do. Whether they sound almost identical to another band, there will be this thing that makes them unique. And so if you know that about your project, you know that about yourself, you can kind of position it in that sort of way where it's like, for example, let's say you're into instrumental guitar music. So some people know about the musicians like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, or Tim Henson and Scotty LePage from Polyphia. All this technical guitar music, sometimes it sounds like it's written by robots because it's so technically impressive that you almost can't believe a human is playing it, right? So in that genre, what I could do is take a stance and be like, I love instrumental guitar music, but don't you kind of wish sometimes that it would be way more melody focused as opposed to just shredding 80% of the track and then I get a good melody 20% of the time? And then that person goes, yeah, I kind of wish that it was a little bit more melodic. Sometimes it does beat up on my ears a little bit. And then you go, well, that's interesting. This probably isn't verbatim how I'd say it, but basically in the DMs, you position yourself to be like, oh, well, funny that we're talking about this. I actually just made a video where I tried to create that. Maybe go check it out and let me know how I did. And in that video that you're sending them, there's a secret call to action to the email list at the end or something. Who knows, right? There's ways that we can get people into the email list through the DMs, and it's really natural and logical. But a lot of us get all, I don't know. But if you commit to one of those three things, if not all three of them, which is getting anybody that you possibly can at your shows to join your email list, they're the best possible leads to get into your email. The second one is, okay, I'm going to make content, have them come to me, right? Well, even if you're making content, it's not about the email list. You could still DM them, thank them for the engagement, thank them for following and all that kind of good stuff, and then start the conversation in such a way that it gets them to want to join your email list, okay? Now let's jump into, okay, let's say you're one of those people that's like, Dax, I do have an email list, but it's not working for me. I don't know what to do. What do I do? The second thing I want you to look at is being different, but that's not going to be used in the way most people use it. I don't mean just be different to just be different. Think about it like this. When YouTube very first started, the technology that we had available in the mid-2000s was pretty limited. So the camera quality of everything that a consumer had access to was pretty low quality, right? This is where the term, this video looks like it was shot in a toaster, comes from, is these early YouTube videos where the quality is just piss poor, right? But over time, the invention of the iPhone comes along, the invention of pretty high quality cameras that consumers can buy for relatively affordable prices. That's compared to like Hollywood movie cameras, right? All of a sudden they're like, oh, more people have access to high quality video. So what happened is there was a pattern interrupt. It went from YouTube, low quality, that's just what's on this app, evolution to dance and all that kind of good stuff. And then all of a sudden these new creators have this high quality video, right? And you're like, huh, that's kind of interesting. That looks a lot cleaner than these other videos. I'm gonna check that out, right? Well, then what happens? From about, I guess you could say 2012-ish, maybe 2011, all the way till, let's say, even 2020. People were getting inundated with high quality content, like good cameras, good lighting, the highly produced setup, right? But then what happened? All the fancy like marketers and gurus and all those people came into play, started using that stuff, and now people have a natural skepticism when they see super high quality content. Unless they get some certain cues that this isn't an ad, they're going to have their eyes out for like, is this a real podcast or is this one of those fake podcast studios that just exist to shoot ads with and make it look like this is a real podcast, right? People have those thoughts now. They have those intuitions. Even if they're not thinking that verbatim, they're intuiting it. And so having now slightly lower quality content, again, compared to the super high production stuff, now all of a sudden you stick out again. Now that feels more authentic. Now it feels more real. I know some people in my particular space that like to teach and maybe even sell. Here's how you have the super high quality content that looks like it's art, basically. To me, that is a gamble. It really is. Because I've seen high quality pieces of content get smoked by low quality pieces of content. Simply because the low quality piece of content was able to hook people in with a sense of relatability, right? They knew this wasn't some like industry plant. I don't even know if I 100% believe. I know there's people that succeed through nepotism, but I don't know about 100% industry plant. Like, we're going to make you successful, and we're just going to create it. Because that, if we're going to talk about that, then some people's favorite bands in, let's say, the 80s would be the definition of industry plants. Like, think about it. You had the bands like Van Halen that were doing fantastic, right? And then you have a wave of hair bands that are pretty much manufactured from labels, seeing the success of a handful of artists that sort of had a look and style. They tried to create millions of copycat artists that would just keep bringing in money. And I would still say that some of those other artists, like let's say comparing like Van Halen to Cinderella or something like that, I don't think Cinderella is a bad band just because they came later in a wave of a particular genre of music. Just like I don't believe that like most people are industry plants, but that's kind of besides the point. The point is you want to be different in the sense that you're DIY versus being overly designed, because that's going to instantly create more, not authority in the sense that like I'm the big bad authority, but it creates more authenticity. And that authenticity is your authority, if that makes sense. So the next thing, let's say, by the way, I should add one more thing. What does that look like in practice? When you go send your emails, don't try to make them look designed and fancy or themed. Make them look like a personal correspondence. Make it look like you literally just got an email from somebody. And in the subject line, it's like, hey, Mike, what's up? Or hey, Mike, real quick. Something like that, right? It sounds like I'm actually trying to reach out to you. And as soon as they open it, if they actually feel like this is a personal correspondence, even if they know subconsciously this might be a mass message, it's easier for them to get into state. You could even say get into character, so to speak. When they're reading this, they're in that same kind of mindset that you want them in, so that they kind of suspend context and disbelief. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, so this is what he's got going on. And they accept the messages as personal correspondence because you're using verbiage like you instead of y'all, right? I'm from the South, so we say y'all down here. But it's, by the way, the greatest pronoun, dude and y'all. We could end all the pronoun stuff with just dude and y'all. No, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. So subject lines are going to be huge in this process. So creating subject lines that create curiosity, personalization is the right word there, and kind of this casual but sometimes clickbaity kind of thing here. I know some people don't like, but so like clickbait in the subject lines? A little bit, depends. Like one of my favorite subject lines is literally the swear word, damn it, DAMMIT, and then LOL. Right? And if you have a way that you can send somebody an email now where it's like, oh man, we were supposed to do a special deal and we forgot about it because we were working on the record. So here's a special deal we put together just for you, right? Like that's pretty rough, but you get the idea where now the subject line makes sense when they start to read the email. So focus on your subject lines. But number 2, on top of that, focus on the copywriting. That is not copy RIGHT. I'm talking about copywriting, WRITING. That is the skill set of being persuasive and in text, in print, okay? So I think there's I think it's Rosser Reeves or maybe Gary Benzavanga who said that copywriting is just salesmanship in print, right? So that's the easy way to think about it. So understand that if you can write the words in your email certain ways, you can learn certain patterns of speech, they make your emails more influential. They make them more persuasive. I use lots of really interesting like psychological tactics because I'm a psychology nerd. It's one of the things that, other than obsessing about music growing up, I was always into psychology. And behavioral psychology, turns out marketing and behavioral psychology are like boom, boom, right? They're one in one almost. So you can start to communicate through your email in a way that increases the likelihood that they want to support you, because you're not doing it from this perspective of shoving a product in their face, which is what most people do. They, in the subject lines, it's like, get the new special winter deal. And then in the copy, it's, get this wonderful $5 deal where you're going to save so much. And it's so hyped. It's so contrived and nobody believes any of it. They probably, at this point in time, think it's written by AI. They don't even think it's real anymore. So if you can start to provide this sort of storytelling, or better yet, story selling, where you're telling stories about you as an artist, but you tell those stories in such a way, and there's a lot of cool things that you can learn, you can tell the story to get them to almost be in the right frame of mind so that when it comes time for you to actually sell something, they're in the right headspace and it doesn't feel like you just got them into this email list so you can sell them a bunch of stuff, right? That's what a lot of people do. They give their email to McDonald's or any other kind of fast food place. They give their email to some kind of retail establishment or something, and now they're getting paraded or they're getting berated every single day with emails from everybody, and they all look eventually the same, right? It's like ad fatigue. This is like email fatigue because they're getting emails from all these different people. But here's the thing. What subject lines stick out? I want you to think about, there's a legendary direct response copywriter named Gary Halbert, and he talks about the A-B pile principle, which is whenever you go to get your mail today, or maybe you've already gotten your mail, whenever you got your mail, you probably did one of these things. I'm probably going to guess and predict your behavior a little bit here. you probably sorted the mail into two piles, right? The first pile was anything that was clearly an ad or a brochure. And you probably sorted it over the trash can so that once you got all the ads in one hand, you just kind of went and you threw them all in the garbage unopened, right? Then you got the stuff that looks like one of two things. Some kind of legal or bill notice or a personal correspondence. And you need to view your email the exact same way. You need to view your email fundamentally as the A pile. How do I make this email seem like it's either a bill, a legal notice, right? Or a personal correspondence? That is how, one, you increase the likelihood that they actually open it. But then if you continue that pattern on into the rest of the email, they'll start to be pulled through. John Carlton and Joe Sugarman, legendary copywriters, call this the greased slide or the slippery slope, where they get at the top of the subject line, and as soon as they start reading the first sentence of your email, they're pretty much on a slippery, greased slide that's going to take them to the very end of the copy because you're sucking them in the whole way through. Now, here's the third thing. Well, once you've got their attention, you kind of suck them into the story a little bit, and you've told a couple stories through maybe a few different emails. So that way it's not just like, oh, every time he tells a story, he's going to sell me something, right? You just tell stories, build value, build rapport, build that connection that the fan will get by learning more in depth about your story. And not only just learning more about your story, you're the one telling them. I hear people sometimes go, why don't you just do that on social media? Because it's way less personal and it doesn't hit as hard. When the artist makes a social media post about their history and their story, in some respect, it does feel calculated. Even if emails are just as calculated, it feels more calculated when they make this social media post where it's clearly shot up in like high fidelity cameras and it looks like a documentary and it's super HD and everything. Now when they talk about their life story and stuff, you're like, oh, it's just because they're trying to hype up their new record or whatever. If the artist themselves is telling you the story as if you're almost like friends in high school and they're sending this email to you kind of like venting, but venting in a way where you're just engaged through the whole story about your experience being a musician. And the next day they get another personal little, I told you yesterday about this crazy story. Well, you can't believe what happened right after that. And then you go right into it again. Now you're creating this way more personalized bond that increases that affinity between artist and fan, right? So a lot of people, misunderstand like, oh, I could just do this on social media. It's like, don't, because then you lose that personalized aspect to it. And people will put you in that other category I talked about of the designed content as opposed to the DIY content, right? So what we need to do now is make an offer, okay? So we've got their attention. We get into the end of the email. What are we going to do after we've built that rapport and affinity? We're going to make an offer. We're going to sell them something. So like I mentioned, this is happening after we built all the rapport and affinity. We didn't assume that the content alone built everything that we needed to know for them to want to buy. Sometimes that will happen. I had a client, John, who had a couple of people who were like, send me the link to buy. I want to buy right now, right? So he was like, hey, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to make you wait 6 days to go through my email sequence or something to get the offer. I'm going to go ahead and just give it to you. And they bought, right? So some people will just be like chomping at the bits. Those are your super hot, diehard fans, right? But there's a lot of people that are going to need to be warmed up to get to that place where they're like, I know about this artist in a way that like I understand them deeper. Now their music makes like sense in a different way. Like before it was ear candy and it sounded good. And I was relating it to some of my experiences and I really enjoyed that. But now I understand what they did to come up with this. And now it gives it like a whole new layer. All these things are working in your favor. So that you eventually get them in a place where they're like, I want this artist to continue to making music. I want them to continue doing this. So how do I do that? And then here comes the email, almost as perfectly timed and right on surprise, delivered from the heavens. Oh, hey, the best way that you could actually help me continue to make music and put more music out for you to enjoy, I put together a cool little offer that you can check out right here, right? Notice how much more natural this process is than you give them, they give you the email, and then the next day they're berated with like, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, ridiculous, right? Buy now, buy now, buy now. That's going to drive people away. But if you come in it with this, like, let me build rapport, let me just give you some free stuff and then tell you some stories and build this connection. And now that we've built more of a connection, got to know each other a little bit more, now let me pop the question, right? You don't want to pop the marriage question on the first date, do you? You probably want to have some dates in between then, right? We're going to extend that time frame by telling some stories in between, and then we make the offer. So when you make the offer, it could be anywhere from $15. It could be up to $100. I've seen offers in both of those ranges. So it really depends what you're going to sell. If you're just going to sell some digital stuff, maybe it's like videos of this and behind the scenes, DIY documentary of you talking about this and this and this. Yeah, you can charge like $15. There's no fulfillment. It's all digital. Easy, right? You're not making as much. It's only $15, but there's no costs really associated with it. So that's good. But you could also do something like a t-shirt and some other stuff mixed in with it. All the way up to $100. I've seen people consistently buy $60, $80 items if what's in the offer matches that value. So we need to kind of talk about that a little bit. Like, what is an offer and how is it different from just like selling a product? Okay. So if you just sold like a t-shirt, to me, that's not an offer. If you're just like, go buy this t-shirt and you put in your money in the credit card and then the shirt comes to you, that's not an offer. That's them going and buying a product. And if you just go tell them to go buy a product, you're going to sound like everybody else. If you can create an offer, what that is your core product that you're trying to sell plus value. And when you create more value, how do we do that? You can do that through guarantees, right? Hey, even if you simply had nothing other than like one t-shirt to sell, you could say, I've got this one t-shirt and I'm so confident you're going to love this t-shirt that if you get it and it's defective or it shrinks or whatever, verify your purchase and verify that for me and I will literally refund you every penny and you can keep the shirt. Notice how that's not just go buy the shirt comes to me, transaction completed, we're all done. Offer means now there's a little bit more of an offering going on. I'm not just giving you the thing, I'm giving you this and this and this, right? And it doesn't just have to be bonuses stacked on top of each other. It could be, like I said, a guarantee. Is increasing, or I shouldn't say increasing, decreasing the risk for them by saying, you can get your money back 100% if X, Y, and Z. I'll give you double your money back. For certain things, that can be very powerful. Certain things you don't want to do double your money back, but that can be extremely powerful. Like, I'm so confident that you're going to love our fan club that if you get out of the first month and you didn't love what was in there, I'm not only going to send you your money back, but I'll send you double your money back. And you can go, if you have the right softwares, whether it's Kajabi, Elite 360, whatever, you can see how much of a particular product they've seen, right? So if you've made a fan club and you've got videos in there, you can see who's watched what, right? And so you can see if someone goes in for a refund and tries to get double their money back, you're like, hey, you didn't open any of the emails, or you didn't open any of the videos in the fan club. The refund was contingent that like you watched them and you were like, I don't like them. I didn't get any value from them. You didn't watch any of them. So no, I don't have to honor that refund. And I'm legally protected to do so. Right? So you can, that's just one way, but you could also add bonuses. And that's my favorite way to do it because I think it's the easiest way to actually increase that perceived value is you're not just getting the t-shirt, you're getting the t-shirt and a hoodie. Or you're not just getting a hoodie, you're getting a hoodie and a t-shirt. I know that sounds like the same offer, but it is heard very differently to the consumer. Think about that one for a few days. Now, what you can do then is mix up physical and digital, tangible and intangible. You could say, if you invest in this hoodie, I'm going to give you access to, our album plus some bonus tracks of this deluxe edition. Or you could say, if you buy this hoodie, I'm going to give you access to live performances of our new singles or acoustic performances that are only available through this offer. They're not on YouTube or anywhere else. You have to, they're only included as a bonus for people who get the hoodie within a certain time frame, right? Notice how all of this is different than, here's my shirt, I hope you buy it. That's not an offer. An offer increases that desire to want to buy something. You see what I'm saying? Like if you can structure it in a way where what you're putting together is attractive enough to your fan, they're just going to want to buy from you. Who would have thought? I put together something that they actually enjoy, they'll want to buy things from me? Well, color me pink or whatever. They tickle me pink. Well, I don't even know what the phrases are. Whatever. So the last thing I guess I would say is if you wanted to remember this kind of whole process, there's a framework that I use with my clients. I call it the CEO framework. Content, email, offer. We got to create some content that's going to pull some people into your email list. We're going to talk to them in that email list like they're a person, and we're going to keep it as personalized and personable as possible. And then number 3, we're going to make them an offer. So if you can remember CEO, content, email, offer, then you can start executing on this overlooked profit center for most musicians. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I've had clients that have utilized this and in less than 3 months have made $7,400, $2,500, $1,500, $1,700 a month. Like all these wonderful results. And I would love to say it's because I'm amazing. I mean, I guess I'm somewhat involved in it, but to me, the value came from just giving people the tools they need, right? And so hopefully this video has helped some people learn a little bit more about the tools they need to actually move forward and get some profits going in their music business. Because like I was sharing with these people that I've worked with, the results are possible. It's just, are you going to actually take action on it? And that's why I said some people are either going to love